Welcome to Whiskey Uncut. I'm your host, Paul, joined by James, as always.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Oh yeah, but I was very confused for a second. I thought it was Monday.
No.
Because
First day of the
Memorial
work week,
Yeah.
technically, but
Day.
Tuesday.
I'm like, why is he saying Tuesday? Yeah, happy Tuesday, guys. So, did you have a good Memorial Day, James?
I did absolutely nothing.
Nice.
Zero.
Yeah.
The day before, I did some pool time and ordered some food in and things like that. But I went to the gym and that was it. Other than that, I did nothing.
Yeah,
No.
Yesterday I had work to do, so I still had to work because I had to get shit done. But the day before, I was like laying around the house. I'm just like, I'm dead because I went to see JJ Grey and Mofro Saturday night with Sierra, and so this was like 4 or 5 months ago. I went to see Taylor Swift with Sierra, and that was her concert that she chose.
I still can't believe you went to see Taylor Swift.
That she chose, and that was like a 3-hour concert. So like you drive like 2 hours to go to Tampa, get there, you're there for 3 hours, drive 2 hours home. It's a full day to go see Taylor Swift. Well, JJ Grey and Mofro, we didn't realize, we were confused. They had like 4 people on the docket. And I'm like, this is unusual. Like usually when a band plays, they have like 1 opener, not 3 openers. And it said the start time was 4. So we got there at 4. Well, each of those openers played a full 1-hour set.
Oh man.
So
you were there for a long time.
Yeah. So it was like technically a music festival thing, I guess. And so it was actually from 4. JJ Grey didn't even come on stage until 8:30.
Oh man.
And then we got a lightning delay for an hour.
Awesome.
So they didn't even start playing until 9:30. Right. And yeah, so Sierra's she's upset because she's like, I only made you watch Taylor Swift for 3 hours.
She had to be there for
I had to be here for
hours.
like 8 hours.
I feel kind of the same way. Saturday, I went to watch the new Mad Max, and it felt like I was there for 8 hours. That is a long ass movie, man.
Was it any good?
Because
the previews looked rough. Like it looked like all CGI and green screen compared to the first movie, which was a lot of practical effects.
Yeah. So Fury Road is really intense. It was gritty. I loved it. This felt more like a fairy tale.
This one's Furiosa, right?
Yeah. It feels more like a fairy tale. Like somebody's giving you this like oral history of the character.
Okay.
And so it feels a little bit more like dreamy and almost hyperbolic at times. Like, you know how stories get exaggerated over the years? It sort of felt like something that would be passed down.
Okay.
The CGI took away from it for me, and Chris Hemsworth, his character took away from it for me.
Isn't he like the main villain or something?
Yeah, but he's so shticky. He's turned it into Ryan Reynolds, where every character is kind of the same.
Yeah.
And it was more of that. The action parts of it were great. I liked Anna Taylor-Joy in it. But it wasn't as good as the other one. But it's long, man. It was like 3 full hours. And then, of course, you have, nowadays, they put like 15 previews on. So there's 4. Oh, my Lord. That was a good one.
Yeah.
There's like 40 minutes of previews before you even get to the movie. But it's worth watching.
All right. So today we're talking about ASW. And I figured we'll skip the news and stuff today. ASW, AWS. ASW, I'm right. Okay.
Good job.
So for those of you who don't know, ASW whiskey is in Atlanta, Georgia. And it's not ASW whiskey, ASW distilling. And so they make a variety of spirits. So we have a couple of their whiskeys and one of their gins, which they provided for us.
Yeah.
Very nice of them.
Yeah, great people. I was in Atlanta 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I set up a meeting, stopped in, gave me a full tour, let me try some barrels, some of their different products, sent me home with some bottles. So just really, really cool people. And I've been following ASW for quite some time. I went there shortly after we moved to Gainesville. Well, no, I'd say probably about 6 or 7 years ago I stopped by. Their stuff was relatively young, so I've been following them over the past couple of years.
So one of the things that they tout on their website is that they are the most awarded craft distillery since 2018, specifically at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. And so I think all of these products, I'm not sure about the gin, have won gold or double gold.
Yes.
And I presume more than once for them to be the most awarded, or else there would only be 3 awards, which doesn't seem like that many.
No, I definitely think that's the case. Yeah, I know.
Although
gin,
they have other products that we don't have here.
I think their base gin has won awards, but I think the barrel aged gin is a little bit more rare, and I don't think they've submitted that to anything yet. But overall, like tons and tons of accolades for all the ones we're going to be trying today, and we're trying some unique stuff. So we're trying single barrel versions, we're trying finished versions. So we're not really even doing the base lineup per se. We're doing some of the higher end stuff.
Yeah. So if you go to their website, and I'll pop this up for everybody. Oh, what the heck? Oh, there it is. Okay. So one of the things that they talk about, which is cool, is wanting to have like 2 separate product lines as far as their own distillate and sourced distillate. And so they say, when we first set out our whiskey journey, we made a purposeful decision to craft 2 lines of spirits, one that we distill ourselves and one that allows us to showcase unique spirits from across the country that we then bring in-house and fiddle with. Now, the fiddle colloquialism is a reference to their master distiller, who is a well-renowned fiddle player.
Yes.
And he's, they say, a virtuosic skill. Their master distiller, Justin Manglitz, is an accomplished old-time string music fiddler, and so they named it after him. And then obviously it goes along with the idea of fiddling with the whiskey that they're getting from, in this case, MGP is who they're sourcing some of their product from. However, and I really like this, they actually put on the label of each whiskey, it could be bigger, it could be a little more clear. But they do say on, for instance, this first one that we're going to taste, which is Georgia Heartwood, they say finished and bottled by ASW Distillery. The other ones here say distilled and bottled, which is great because I think the way distilleries were getting away with this for a long time was they were saying like produced by or released by, or, you know, and then distillery name, and the distillery's not even, they don't even own a still, you know? So.
And this is a single barrel. So this is a single barrel of the Georgia Heartwood. And this is a really unique. So it's sourced MGP, and it's a wheated bourbon, but it's an extremely high wheat content. So it's 45% wheat and 51% corn. And then the remaining 4% is the malted barley. And what they do with this is then they bring it in and they hand char Georgia white oak staves and do a secondary aging of that wheated bourbon on top of those oak staves. So it does undergo a finishing process. And you're looking at, this one is 118.2 proof. I found it online for $89. I don't know what it sells for at the distillery, but everywhere that I was kind of looking around was $89. There's no age statement, but from talking to them and also from looking around online, somewhere in the range of 5 years probably is what we're looking at.
Yeah, on their website, it says approximately American New White Oak, approximately 4 years, and then additional months of maturation. So somewhere around 5 years old.
Yeah, that seems to be kind of the norm. And then you're looking at tasting notes here. They say baking spice, maple syrup, oak, and toffee is what they give you on the site.
You're supposed to read that after, James.
No, I want to see if we get any of those.
Okay.
But I remember trying this there, and it's a rich and spicy nose, which surprised me because you're looking at a wheated bourbon, and I wasn't expecting that much spice. But there's something they're doing with those toasted staves that are providing some extra spice because it is kind of baking spicy on the nose.
This is honestly one of the most inviting aromas of a craft whiskey, I think.
It's sweet and spicy and rich. And
it's not because, well, and obviously they're doubling up on the wheat content, but I get so used to with craft American whiskeys, a lot of corn or rye influence on the aroma.
Yeah.
Or a lot of barrel char. You know, it's like it's kind of usually one of those 3 things. Either it's kind of like a vanilla bomb, a corn bomb, or like, your rye spice kind of thing. This to me is kind of, I don't know, it's almost subtly smoky, subtly spicy. A little, it's kind of a dry nose.
But
A
man,
little
yeah.
bit of like that confectioner sugar almost. I kind of
It is noticeably oaky. Like if you poured this for me, I would think that it was maybe a double oak,
right.
or like at least a double barrel finished, because it does have a lot of oak on it. But
But it's not
I'm
like
so
heavy char oak.
no.
Right.
But I'm so surprised by how spicy it is on the nose. And I know this is one of the ones I think they do too for private selection. So if anybody's out there listening and you have a group and you want to do a private pick, you can go to ASW and do private picks. And you can choose how many staves you want to put in the barrel. So that's what they do. They have the barrel and then they put the staves through the bung, and you can put as many as you want in there.
Through the bung hole.
Yes. So you got to put the staves in the bung hole.
You can't ever pass up an opportunity to say bung hole.
So they can do like, it says on here, to 30 staves. Some of them have very few, some of them have a ton. So depending on if you a heavier bodied or a lighter bodied, you can kind of customize.
I'm guessing this had to be like a 30 stave. Well, I mean, I haven't tried it side by side with another one, but
no, but it's pretty.
It tastes
it's
pretty
heavy
intense.
on it.
Yeah. Man, it's just very, I don't know. It's very unique without being an oddball. Like it doesn't taste odd to me, which I feel like is hard to do with a unique tasting product.
It's pretty damn good.
Yeah, it is.
It's a little bit. I didn't know whether to do this one first or the Soloist first. This one's kind of it's kind of a tweener for me. I think the nose is big. The palate's maybe a little softer than what I was thinking it was going to be based on the nose, but it's still really, really rich, but it's not overly dense. It's not overly oaky or overly heavy. It's a really well balanced whiskey.
Yeah. It finishes fairly dry. But there's a touch of sweetness on the back, like a touch of fruitiness to it, or citrusy.
It's one of those
maybe
noses,
more citrusy than fruit.
Maybe, yeah. It's one of those noses where you can just sit here and kind of like sniff it for 20 minutes. This is one that you would go back to because you like to sniff whiskeys.
That's what I'm saying. Like the aroma to this is extremely inviting to me.
Yeah, you got the cinnamon red hots in there. There's some vanilla.
Because
it's
not like this crazy overpowering one note thing. It's kind of like a lot of. It's almost James, like someone playing a fiddle tune with their aroma.
Well, can you? Yeah, I know you play a lot of instruments. Can you play the fiddle?
I can play the fiddle.
Really?
Yes, I can.
So why did you not play the fiddle?
Oh, that should have been the intro. That should have been the intro. Is
fiddling. Yeah,
fiddling. So here's what they say: weeded and repeated. That's a good name, or a good slogan.
It is
for the double barrel thing. So this spirit began its life as a foraged bourbon whiskey.
I like
foraged.
That sounds so much better than sourced.
Yeah, it does. That our head distiller, Jay Manglitz, fiddled with by adding staves of white oak Heartwood that he harvested in Georgia. I don't know if he went out there and chopped down those trees and harvested the...
You never know.
You never know.
Maybe he was making fiddles out of them,
yeah,
and he just decided to throw them in the barrel too.
Yeah, a little suspect on the wording there. Such intricate fine-tuning culminates in an ode to American spirits, a dram as lively as an old-time fiddler and as unique as the instruments they play. With deep complexity and pronounced finish, Fiddler Georgia Heartwood is a bourbon whiskey refinished with white oak staves that you won't soon forget. Never chill filtered or add color.
Nice. Now, and this is going to be vastly different than the other ones we tried too, because not only is this MGP and it's the extremely high wheated mash bill,
right,
it's also column distilled, whereas everything else we're going to try is pot stilled. So I expect this to be very, very different than any of the other ones that we're trying in this lineup.
Yeah. So Liz B says that her ASW fiddler listed how many staves were used.
Oh, this one does not, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a private pick of it, I would imagine that they probably do.
That's probably the case.
Because you can actually go in and manipulate that. But if it's coming from the distillery, my guess is they probably don't tell you.
Right. Yeah, because they probably, yeah. Okay. Well, let us know. Is yours a private pick, Liz?
Yeah, and how many staves?
And how many staves? Yeah, Jonathan Richardson also said he loves ASW. Super nice folks as well.
Yeah, they're really, really great. I mean, I just sort of stopped in at random and they gave us a full tour and tried a bunch of different stuff. So it was a really fun trip.
Dude, I really like the aroma on this.
I'm gonna leave a little bit in because I want to compare it to the aroma on the next, but that's
This
a
is
really, really nice nose.
it's also a whiskey that I feel like would maybe evolve a bit in the glass. So yeah.
And it drinks really, really well at this proof, I'll say too.
Yeah, what proof was it? 116?
It's 118.2.
I was pretty damn close.
You were pretty close.
That's just my natural talent.
So good. And I did say it already.
Oh.
So
Well,
that probably helps too.
and I looked at the label. But I'm going to pretend that
it
I
was
could just
all your skill.
all my skill to taste it. Here, don't tell me on this one. Let me
If
see
you had
I
gotten the 0.2, that would have been that would have been the impressive part.
You know what's crazy is there probably is like a master distiller out there that can tell to the 0.2% just because they've had so much whiskey. All right, so don't tell me on this one, but
All right, so I'll go ahead and introduce
we'll
this
see
one.
if I can tell the proof.
This is the Soloist. So again, this is a cask strength.
Ooh, smells very different.
It is not a single barrel as far as I can tell, but this is going to the pot still now. So get a load of this this mash bill.
Okay.
So we have 56% corn. So again, they're sticking to kind of low corn profiles, which I think is kind of cool. And then you got 44% random malted grains. And here's the list of malted grains.
Random malted grains?
Here's the list that I could find. Are you ready? I don't even know how to pronounce some of this shit. All right, so we have 14% wheat malt. I've never seen anybody malt wheat. 10% rye malt. 10% Munich malt. 7% Rausch smoked malt. And 3% chocolate rye malt.
Chocolate rye malt I've heard of.
Yes. The other ones...
What was this? It was second to last one. What was that?
Rausch smoked malt.
Rausch smoked malt. Interesting.
Yeah. So how you come up with, and again, this is distilled at ASW. So how you come up with that combination of malts is intriguing to me. I would love to sit down with somebody and be like, what led you to think of this? And I will say I've tried a couple other ones here recently. We just actually picked a barrel of single malt that has 3% chocolate malt in it. You get the chocolate with even a very, very small percentage of chocolate malt in it. So that's a really interesting addition to me with a lot of what doesn't sound too sweet. And then you kind of introduce this chocolate note. It sounds fun. This one is coming in at 113.8 proof. And again, this was distilled at ASW. And this they put on their website that this was the first straight bourbon distilled in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Do you want me to give the tasting notes or do you want to?
Not yet.
Okay. And this is $99 as well when I found it online.
So they say we combine the age-old method of copper pot distillation you'll find at traditional single malt houses with the time-honored method of grain-in distillation of traditional bourbon houses to make the first straight bourbon distilled in Atlanta since well before Prohibition. Unlike most bourbons that consist of a vast majority of corn, we decrease the corn and increase the ratio of more flavorful grains. Then use a combination of Char 3 and Char 4 New American White Oak barrels for a virtuoso performance. A 4-grain harmony of corn, malted wheat, malted rye, and malted barley. The result is Fiddler Soloist, a complex straight bourbon performance unlike any others. So, so distilled, first thing distilled it in Atlanta since before Prohibition.
Yep. And if you go there, this is the one they brag about. Like they talk a lot about this one. They're very proud of it. They're very proud of the mash bill, I think, in the way that turns out. They talk a lot about the grain in distillation, which if you don't know what that is, it just means that when you put it in the pot still, the grains are still in there. So you're not separating out the wort from the grains and just distilling off the wort. That supposedly gives it some more body, some more complexity. You get some heavier flavors through. Some people think that it adds a little bit of a bitterness too. I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't tried enough side by side with more of the column distillation, but I could certainly see obviously more grain notes coming through. But this was a really interesting one. I tried a couple different barrels of this while I was there and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so let's see, because here's my thought on this one. It smells enigmatic.
Okay.
Does it
Explain
not?
to me why it
Does it
smells
not?
enigmatic.
Okay. It smells enigmatic because I'm getting notes of, mahogany, polished mahogany, rich mahogany. I'm getting like just leather bound books, kind of like a little bit like tobacco kind of character to it.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm getting a lot of those kind of almost dusty kind of, which kind of makes sense to me if you've got this weird ratio of like malted wheat and malted barley and like because I'm trying to think of like some of the other 4-grain whiskeys we've had on here. I feel like one of them tasted like straight up orange chicken, like Szechuan orange
Really?
chicken. That was the Koval.
Oh yeah. I forgot about I forgot about that. Yeah.
It just reminded me of like Chinese food for some
I
reason.
don't know if that's a compliment at all.
No, it's great. I freaking love orange chicken.
It smells like orange.
Everybody
chicken.
likes orange chicken.
not in my glass. I don't know. So,
But-
I mean, the thing that jumps out to me, there is a dusty kind of funky quality to it.
Yeah.
But it's that earthiness that I get a lot of times with malt, right? There's just something about it that's slightly different. I get some like dark cherry notes. The cinnamon still jumps out at me. There's quite a bit of cinnamon note to it. There is a little bit of like a creamy chocolate note in there. And then I start getting what you're talking about, like more of the antique wood, the like leathery kind of notes. Yeah. It's almost slightly smoky as well. There's like a char note in the background, which I think is really interesting. But it's heavy. This is, in my opinion, and I'm glad we put it second, this is heavier than the first whiskey, particularly on the nose.
Yeah, man.
Oh man, when you smell it side by side, it gets super smoky when you compare it to the first one.
Yeah, there's like a slightly herbal character to the aroma that and I would say kind of like a black cherry.
Yeah, it's a dark cherry.
Like a dark cherry kind of thing.
Man, the chocolate really comes out on the palate. Like the lingering finish to me is like smoke and chocolate. The beginning, you get the fruit, you get some of the sweeter notes, but man, the finish on this is quite a bit longer than the first one, and it's just that lingering smoky chocolate note in the background that's super cool.
I wonder. See, the chocolate's too subtle for me.
Oh, see, I pick it up for sure. I mean, we both know that my palate's a little bit more sensitive than yours, and I can pick out some of these nuanced things. If this tasted like seaweed and Band-Aids, you'd be all over it.
Yeah,
though.
well, obviously.
Or if it was finished in a sherry cask or something like that.
No, I just. Yeah, I feel like this one. I don't quite get that chocolate note. I love chocolate in my whiskey.
Man, I get it on the finish. I don't get it up front. Up front, you get more of the grain, kind of the malty characteristic. It's a little bit more corn forward than the first one. You can get some of the corn notes in there, almost like a dusty popcorn note. But it's good. I kind of like the subtlety of the first one more than the complexity of this one. But I can see it depending on like sort of your mood and if it's what you're drinking it or who you're drinking it with. But yeah, it's a much bigger bourbon than the first one.
It is crazy because going back to the first one makes it seem bright.
It makes it seem bright and sweet and graham crackers and
right,
like all that. Yeah. It's almost like if you compare like a toasted bourbon versus a regular bourbon, like that's almost the gap between these. Where the first one smells sweeter, it smells lighter, it smells crisper now, whereas this one is definitely heavier and there's a lot more going on.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I think the wheated one, I would reach for more to sip on. But if I could only, if I was just like visiting the distillery and I could only buy one of the two, I would still buy the Virtuoso or the Soloist.
Just because it's
just
more,
it's got more,
unique.
Yeah, it's more interesting to me. It's got, I want to sit there and kind of pick it apart more, hang out with it. I think it tastes a little more special to me. but it's not like something that I'm like, oh, I just want to drink a glass of that as much.
Yeah.
It is maybe my, my feeling on that.
I will say, like, I think this is one of the best approaches to modifying an MGP product that I've seen.
Well, now this one's all distilled.
No, the first one.
Oh, the wheated one. Yes.
Yeah, I think the Heartwood, that's a really kind of fun thing. They chose a different mash bill from MGP, and then they also add their twist on it by doing the staves. And that's, I think, different than just finishing it in a port barrel or something else, right?
Right.
So I think that's a unique take on an MGP, and I think that's why I like it. I mean, let's be honest, the base of MGP is pretty solid.
Right.
Like, if you get a 4 to 6 year MGP bourbon at cask strength, it's pretty good.
Right.
And then if you can tweak that a little bit and give it some of your own personality, you can come up with a really cool product. And I think that is a really cool product. This one is more crafty. Like, the first one doesn't taste crafty necessarily. Yeah. This tastes crafty. You have more grain influence. You have this weird 44% malt mash bill that's sort of all over the place.
Right.
I can taste the chocolate notes because I'm better than you. Mingling in there with some of the other, like, malted barley notes. You can taste some of the corn. So I think it tastes like a really layered craft whiskey. The question is there too much going on for somebody to sit down and just really enjoy a glass?
And that, I think there is.
Yeah.
I think there's too much to it. I want to say, like, the analogy I give is like something like the Woodford Reserve Very Fine Extra Rare versus Kentucky Spirit, right? You sit down with a glass of the Woodford Very Fine Very Rare, and it's maybe not, in your opinion, you think it's a little over oaked. It's maybe not your exact cup of tea, but it certainly has stuff to sit with and think about, and it kind of probably goes really well with a cigar. And, as like your last pour of the evening, because it's heavier and drier and, all that. But it's not like you're just going to pour a glass and just enjoy it absentmindedly, I would say. Whereas, like, Kentucky Spirit is like, that's just great classic bourbon flavors going on that you can just, whether you want to sit with it and think about it, or you're watching a fight and you want to pour something, or you're cooking or whatever, like it fits in all those situations. And I feel like that's kind of the gap here, is that difference of a whiskey that is like, I would probably drink this one faster.
Yeah.
Just because I'm more often going to be in a mood for that, I think.
Well, I think there's different whiskeys for different purposes, right?
Right.
If I just want to enjoy something, I don't want to think about it too much, the first one is really good. But I also think it's something fun to pour for even like a whiskey nerd, just because it's different. The Soloist, in my opinion, is more fun as a review.
Right.
Because if I'm going to review something, like, I want to review something that's complicated and has a lot going on, because it gives me room to kind of stretch out a little bit and talk about what the whiskey tastes like, rather than just kind of your common tasting notes.
Right.
And I think that has a lot that you could talk about in that mindset. The problem with it, and I would love to get Jonathan's perspective on this too.
I don't want Jonathan's perspective on anything until he gives me back my bottle.
He apologizes.
Until he apologizes for stealing my bottle of Wisconsin waffles.
I know. And he was so happy. When you do whiskey as long as we've been doing whiskey, it's hard to shut your brain off when you drink whiskey, right?
Yeah. And
so if it's too complicated or there's too much going on in the pour, I can't get out a reviewer barrel picker mode.
Right. That's I think that's probably what
I just get stuck in it, because then I'm like, oh man, what do I taste? Like, oh, I got this, I got that. And it's too activating to just kind of relax with. And so, yeah, I get what you mean. I think that's where I sort of fall on that one, is it's just too activating for me to just sit down and enjoy it, like, casually.
Well, so it's funny you say that, because, like, I'll go out with my family. We have a lake house out in Stark, and we'll go hang out there for the weekend or something. And, my dad he's got a couple bottles he keeps out there, but, like, I'll usually bring something. My brother will bring some Irish whiskey that he just got, and So I've got my dad and my oldest brother really into whiskey, and so they both have really high end stuff, and I'm like, and they're like, here's a glass of this, like drink this. I'm like, it's so difficult for me to like sit on a dock and have conversations
Yeah.
with people
Mm-mm.
and drink this like rare 25-year-old Irish whiskey that was like from a single barrel that's like a special release, like because all at like either I want to pay attention to the whiskey or I want to pay attention to the people. And it's hard for me to do both. And so I find that like exactly what you're saying, shutting that off, like the reviewer mode is difficult. I've gotten better at it, but
Well, and I think that's why I've come to kind of appreciate simpler profiles sometimes, because I don't want to sit there and like constantly review it in my brain.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I get it's funny you're talking about your dad. He brought me out a glass the other day of a whiskey that he just found
Yeah.
while he was traveling. And I can't remember what it was. It was a scotch. And it was just like middle of the day and I'm sitting outside and I wasn't really, it took me 40 minutes to drink it. It was like an ounce.
Yeah.
Because that's what I did, right? I immediately snapped into, oh, what is this? What can I taste? And there was some sherry notes in there. So I'm trying to pick out the sherry notes. And it's almost like I get fatigued by doing it
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, and it feels taxing. And that's kind of how I feel about the Soloist. But I think you're right. If I was leaving with a bottle, I'd probably still take that.
Yeah. I would liken it to being a grandmaster of chess. You know, those guys burn a lot of calories just playing chess because they're thinking so hard.
Maybe that should be our new
And-
title is we're grandmasters.
Grandmasters of whiskey.
Yeah.
Whiskey Grandmaster. All right. So, third one we've got lined up here. This is the Resurgence.
Resurgens rye.
Resurgens. Yeah, it's spelled oddly. And this is a double copper pot distilled whiskey finished in port casks. Now, I think this one's rye whiskey, correct?
Yes, this is 100% malted rye.
100% malted.
100%
Okay.
malted rye. And in that mash bill, 4% of it is chocolate malt.
Interesting.
So, and we've had a couple 100% malted rye whiskeys on here, like the new Riff. They tend to be, in my opinion, a little bit more florally, a little bit more soft bodied than what your standard rye is. This is 114.6 proof. It's also $99 if you look it up on the website. And I don't know what they say on
This
here.
is distilled by them in Atlanta,
Yes,
correct?
it is. Yes.
Yep.
And it's aged in, I think, a combination of char 3 and char 4. And then it's usually finished in the port cask for they usually say
Ooh.
over a year. Now, there
Oh,
are
baby.
some single barrels out there that you can find where groups have picked them, where they say it's 2 years in new barrels, 2 years in port barrels. But most of the time, most of the information I was saying was at least 12 months. So over a year in the port barrel.
I like the nose on this one.
And this is, by the way, we should mention too, their Resurgens rye is their kind of flagship rye. And this is just that finished in the port barrel. And this is a yearly release. So this is more of a limited version of their standard rye.
Dude, if this website asks me if I'm 21 one more time, I'll freaking lose my mind. I was trying to see if this had the like when it what do you know when it releases each year?
I think it's a fall release, but I could be wrong.
Okay. This says Tawny Port.
Yeah, it's a
Cask.
tawny port cask. Man, the
Honestly.
nose is really pretty.
Yeah. Very
Spicy and rich and chocolatey and fruity. Like it's really, really nice.
there's a really nice grape note on it.
This reminds me, not in the pure essence, but it reminds me of a heavy sherry finished scotch, because the port really, really comes through on the nose. And I love port with rye, so I was really excited. I did not get to try this one at the distillery, so this is my first time trying it.
Oh man. That's tasty.
Wow. It's nutty.
It is actually nutty.
It's very
Yeah.
nutty. It's like toffeed peanuts or something. It's very nutty.
It's interesting because the aroma goes from, man, I want to call it. It's like a dried orange peel kind of note, with like the port brightness, the port red fruits there, and then this rye, like bready rye. I don't know, like graham cracker maybe. Kind of.
Now tell me you get chocolate on this one.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, because this is like a cherry cordial almost.
Well, and then that's what I was gonna say. It almost makes me think of a like a liqueur on the aroma. The port is a very heavy-handed, and I love it.
I figured you probably would. Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, like that's the way to do a finish, people.
Yeah.
Like,
there's and this is, I always say I like subtle finishes. This is not a subtle finish.
No, but it's well balanced.
It's a well balanced finish. Yeah, because a base 100% rye is going to be aggressive, right? Even if it's malted rye at this proof is going to be fairly aggressive. And so that really tempers it. The sweetness from the port really kind of balances out the flavor profile a lot with the rye. This is a really, really well done product.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of like a Midwinter Night's Dram,
this is better.
Some of those, this is right where you want to be.
Honestly, I think this is better Midwinter Nights. Well, certainly the newer ones.
Yeah, the old ones were like legendary. Yeah. Like acts 1 through 4 or so were just phenomenal. Everything after that, when it started to become their own distillate, I wasn't too high on. This is really, really good. And I like the choice here of the malted rye because I think it dials back the cinnamon spice a little bit. Like I don't get this as a spice bomb.
No.
There's baking spices in there, but there's some floral notes too that blend out really, really nicely with the wine finish. That's a damn good product. And $99, I would probably be perfectly fine with that. I think that's a good price.
Yeah, it's my favorite one.
Oh, look at you. You like rye, but it's finished. So you like finished rye.
I'm just saying that's definitely my favorite one so far.
And I can see why they come out with this just like as a special release once a year, because I bet this sells out really, really quickly. And I bet it's super popular. I would release it in the winter because this is very much like a fall winter.
They should have it available all year long.
Yeah, so to ruin it so that then anybody can have it.
Yeah.
But that's damn solid. I think it's well done.
It's nice they gave you a bottle.
Yeah, I know. I'm not gonna leave you with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Whichever one is your least favorite, you can have that one.
Oh, whichever was my least favorite.
Yeah.
All right. So our last one here, wrapping up.
Yeah. So this one is they do their own gin, so they distill their own gin. It says from grain. I don't know exactly what.
This must be aged in something because it is.
Yes.
Gold.
It's aged in their bourbon barrels. So this is a barrel-aged gin. They call it Winterville gin.
Now, did they age it in the wheated bourbon barrel or the ones that have their crazy...
It just says bourbon barrel. Grain. I'm not sure which one they age it in.
Might be both.
It might be both, and they probably blend it together. So this one is, they use 13 botanicals.
Oh, I don't have a glass.
And
probably do my first ones.
That's what I did too. So they list 13 botanicals, and here's your list of botanicals. Are you ready, Paul?
Yes.
Okay. We have Angelica root.
I know what that is.
I do too. I just don't know what it tastes like.
I'm kidding. I have no idea what Angelica root is.
Anise, cardamom, coriander. And I remember this being coriander forward. Cucumber. I don't know that counts as a botanical, but we're going to throw it in there.
Well, it's a plant. So
I guess so. I usually think of it as like shrubs and herbs and stuff like that, not fruit.
Yeah, but I mean, isn't it technically all fed?
Well, then
all
anything that's
plants
wine,
are botanicals.
Then anything that's wine finished would be botanical finished. So I don't know. Grapefruit, hyssop.
Grapefruit?
Yes,
is a botanical.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's hyssop or hyssop. I don't know. Hyssop.
Yeah, I think so.
That's like it's like a shrub that's in the mint family. And so I looked it up.
Very similar to the classic cantaloupe or whatever the hell you said. Grapefruit.
So apparently it's like a bitter minty note, then juniper, and they dial back the juniper. So this is not meant to be like a juniper forward dry gin. And then lemon, lime, orange, marigold, and pepper. So that's
marigold's a flower, right?
You are correct. Good job, Paul. Which is a botanical. Yeah, but apparently that's something that I don't know. There's maybe a lot of marigolds or something in Georgia, and that's why they use it. So $32.
I don't think that's a good reason.
It was on something about that on the website. It was $32. It's 100 proof, and they say the citrus and coriander and floral notes really jump out.
All right, let's see.
Oh man, wow.
Let's see if I can find this about the marigolds on their website. Clear spirits. Does this? I don't think it constitutes a clear spirit.
That's where it's going to be though, because it's under the gin.
Yeah. They have a lot of different whiskeys.
So nose this really quickly and tell me what the first note that jumps out at you is.
Barrel rested Winterville gin. Whoa.
It kicks you right in the face.
It's like lavender and coriander.
See, I get squirt. Like
Squirt?
Like lemon lime soda. Like that's the first thing that pops out to me is like lemon.
It makes
lime
me think
soda.
of like lavender, but
Man, the lemon and lime really come through.
there is a lot of lime.
Yeah, and it's noticeably more.
It smells like a plant.
It's noticeably more lemon lime than what you would normally get out of a gin. Like I don't know if I've smelled a gin that has that much lime content on it. Then you get a little bit of the orange. There's some peppery notes in there. And then the coriander really starts to come through for me too. But
I really want to know.
It's a very, very distinct nose.
Yeah. Yeah, all the citrus, but to me, what it literally it makes me think of like when I'm cooking, and I've got like thyme and like lemon in a dish.
Man,
It's very.
it's got a lot of flavor.
That's a perfumey.
It is. And they say floral notes are. And
Yeah.
I don't know what marigold tastes like. Have you ever eaten a marigold?
All the time.
All the time.
That's why I knew it was a flower, James.
Will you taste this and let me know if it tastes like marigold?
That is a crazy aroma. Holy cow. Like, I've never had a gin that smelled like
I haven't
that.
either.
That's
No.
crazy. It smells really good,
It's-
honestly. I don't know that it smells like something I should drink, though. That's
I don't know if that's a good thing.
like you know what I mean? Like that's not an aroma I associate with a beverage.
It's very perfumey, right? But then,
gin's kind of that way.
But then you get the lemon and lime characteristic. I think the first thing that jumped out to me when I tried this at the distillery was it doesn't like usually when I smell and taste a gin, my first initial thought is what kind of cocktail am I going to put that in? This does not really taste like a cocktail gin to me. This is when I want to put some ice cubes on and I just want to kind of sip it.
Now you know what is going to be great in lemon drops.
Lemon drops?
Yeah, lemon drop cocktail.
Do people make lemon drops still?
I do.
Oh my God.
It's so easy.
3 years of a whiskey podcast and you're still making lemon drops
It's
at home?
well, my wife really likes them,
Oh, okay.
and I really like
And
them.
you really like them. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. They're easy. They're simple. Here's the thing. I don't like all these.
What's the difference between easy and simple, Paul? Yeah, nothing. All right. So they're easy.
They're very easy to make. No, I mean simple in terms of flavor profile. Approachable.
They're approachable.
They're approachable.
Well, they're sweet.
Yeah, they're sweet, but it's just it highlights the spirit. It's a very gin forward cocktail. I tend not to like usually cocktails that have a ton of different ingredients. I tend not to like that much because usually someone's always sticking some vermouth or some nasty freaking Italian,
You don't like vermouth?
bittering
Oh,
like
man.
thing
Love
with
vermouth.
yeah. People are always sticking that stuff in their cocktails, ruining it. I like my sweet cocktails.
See, I think this would be really good in
Sweet and sour.
I think this would be really good in a Negroni.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because
Damn
it-
Negroni.
Because it has a lot of backbone to it. And I like the idea of sort of a bright citrus note with a heavier sweet vermouth to kind of cut the heavy
Yeah.
density of the sweet vermouth. I think this would be really, really good in a Negroni.
I don't know. I'll let you handle the Negronis.
But for $32, like I would buy this all day for $32.
So he says he starts with, hold on. Starting with our Winterville gin as a base, distiller Jerry McCall adds coffee,
Yeah,
grains of paradise, and sage to play well with the deeper notes imparted by our whiskey barrels, essentially making the barrel a botanical in its own right. So there's stuff added to the barrel too?
I guess so.
He adds coffee to it?
Well, see, that's what was kind of weird because
What?
then when you go down and you look at the list of botanicals, they don't mention coffee or grains of paradise.
is that
Is that what it
even-
was?
Yeah.
But I know they talked about that
Sage?
during the tour that they do use the grains of paradise in it.
So, but
So
what
they
does
must-
that mean?
They must alter it. They must put it in the barrel, and
And like soak
while they're
the-
aging it in there. Yeah,
That's weird. Maybe that sage is where I'm getting the
like the timey
tiny
kind
kind of character from. Yeah.
the herbal note.
Yep.
I think what's kind of
Yeah, because none of the other botanicals really should give that flavor profile that I'm aware of.
And I think that's something different too. A lot of times people just take their gin and they barrel age it. But there's some extra thought here that we're going to customize it a little bit, right? We're going to add some things that are going to play better with the heavier notes that we get from the bourbon, so the bourbon notes just don't overwhelm the gin. It's kind of an interesting take on it.
Dude, it's really good though.
It's really damn good. Yeah,
Like honestly, like that's delicious.
it's really good.
As odd as it is, it's a very, very delicious.
Do you know any, like, we know a lot of whiskey nerds. Do you know any gin nerds?
Yes,
We should let the gin nerd try this because
I think so.
it is very, very, like, you get juniper, but
Yeah.
not nearly as much as you normally do. The lemon lime profile, the cardamom profile, that kind of herby profile that you talk about is what really jumps out.
Yeah.
And so it's super aromatic, it's super flavorful. I would love to try it next to the regular Winterville to see if I can pick up like coffee or sage, or if I can pick up what the barrel notes are. But I'd love to give this to somebody who knows a lot about gin and see what they think.
I can't imagine you can taste the coffee. I mean, I just read it off their website and I'm looking for it.
Yeah, I can't taste it. They probably put like
I don't even know what.
one coffee bean in.
Right.
Because I've always heard too that, because we've talked about with Two Souls, we've talked about doing something with coffee, and I've always heard the problem with adding coffee to any kind of a spirit is usually what extracts out is the bitterness.
Yeah.
But this doesn't taste bitter to me. There's no bitterness.
So Fred Flintstone says obviously they didn't use gin basket and instead used infusion.
Well, I don't know what they used for the first one.
Yeah, we're saying here. Let me share the thing real quick. So what we're saying is on their site they actually say, starting with our Winterville gin as a base, distiller Jerry McCall adds coffee, grains of paradise, and sage to play well with the deeper notes imparted by our whiskey barrels, essentially making the barrel a botanical.
So
It's-
it sounds like they add it
to the barrel.
Yeah. Now, what they do with the regular Winterville, whether they use a gin basket or they do an infusion, I don't know. But here it sounds like they make it sound like they stick their standard Winterville gin in a barrel and then add those things to the barrel.
That's what it sounds like. But it does say vapor infusion distillation method, which I think is what he's talking about.
Right. And that's going to be for the standard gin.
Right.
Right. And then they take that and they put it in a barrel, and it sounds like they add those extra components to it
But
while it's resting.
yeah, I don't know. I think it might just be worded strangely. So anyway, but yeah, hey, if you want to taste the gin, Fred Flintstone, go to patreon.com/Malt-Mondays
You can tell
or
us
search Whiskey Uncut.
all
and
your opinions.
sign up for the tasting thing, because these 4 are going to be in the May tasting. So April, I'm sending out tasting kits 2 at a time. So April's tasting kit's going to have a bunch of Two Souls stuff. May's tasting kit is going to be this slate of products. So
And going back to it
I think
again,
there's 1 spot left.
man, the amount of lime. Like, I don't know what kind of,
It is very lemon lime.
it's very lemon lime.
I'm
I
also
dig it.
getting hammered at this point because everything here is like over 100 proof.
So if you had to
And,
pick a favorite out of the lineup, what's your favorite? Is it still the Resurgens?
So, okay, here's what I did, James. I poured the Soloist after.
I saw you took a healthy pour of the Soloist afterwards, which is hence why you're getting hammered as we go.
Well, no. I took a very tiny light pour initially, and so I didn't give it a fair shake.
Oh, is that what it was?
Right.
You had
exactly.
to give it. Yeah, you had to give it an honest review.
So I took a little bit of a heavier pour on the second go around.
Yeah, a little bit of it, slightly heavier, 3 times the amount. Yeah,
To let it open up and breathe. This is for science, for the people.
that's true. Yeah, you were doing this for the
For
people.
the people, not for me.
Which, by
And
the
I-
way, for the people, like, I love that your comment that you got your dad and your brother into whiskey, because I got both my cousins into whiskey, so we're just killing livers,
Yeah.
like left and right of our family
Yeah.
members.
Not to mention discretionary spending accounts.
right.
I mean, going back to this after it's sat for a bit, I enjoy it more.
I mean, it's good. There's no question it's good. It's just what level of complexity you want to deal with when you sit down to drink a whiskey, right? Like, do you want something that's relatively straightforward and easy drinking, or do you want to think about it a little bit? That's the only thing. My only question about it was, is there too much going on with it?
Yeah, I don't think so. And I guess what I'm saying is I think as it's opened up, I think it has harmonized a bit.
That's a big word for you.
That's not that big a word for me, James.
I can go back to it. Hold on.
I feel like it has
Does it smell more mapley to you too as
Yeah.
it sits? Yeah.
it's
Some of the
just
sweeter notes.
it's kind of become a little more cohesive and a little more bold, which is odd because it's already heavy.
Man, it's so chocolatey smoky to me on the finish. I will say, if you're going to ASW or you're looking at ASW products, if you like craft whiskey and you like different flavor profiles, I think the Soloist is the way to go. If you're more of a standard line person, you tend to like bigger distilleries, you tend to like simpler flavor profiles, I think the Heartwood is a good way to go.
But even the Heartwood with the toasted staves has a unique
Yeah.
layer going on that I think is
But it's
worthy.
but it's simpler in terms of
Yeah.
flavor profile and experience than the Soloist.
Dude, the port finish rye though,
Yeah.
it's just it's
If
fucking
you-
delicious.
If you like rye, you like a Midwinter Night's Dram, you like some of those heavier finished ryes, that is absolutely killer.
Yeah.
And if you're a gin person, I would love to get your opinion on the barrel aged gin. I don't drink enough gin to know much more than to say I like it or I don't like it,
Right.
but I do really, really like it.
And I drink enough gin to say that it's definitely different.
It is.
Like, but we need to take this to someone we know that's a bartender and see what they can come up with.
Oh, yeah.
Give it to Kristen.
See what she can do with
she
it.
does with
It's
it.
like work your magic.
Because I struggle to see, other than in a cocktail that plays off of its flavor profile, like a lemon drop or something that lets just like the flavor of that shine through, where it's a very simple cocktail and it lets the flavor profile of all the botanicals
And
which
fruits.
and fruits and
Yeah.
play out. I struggle to see how it would integrate well into a traditional cocktail, and it's a little odd to just drink on its own. It tastes good, but like I can't think of a situation where I'm like, that's what I want a glass of. You know,
to me,
like-
this is a sipping gin, and that's the case with most
Right.
barrel age.
but
but-
maybe that's the that's the question is like,
Yeah.
who's the gin nerd that wants to just sip on this, right?
It's kind of like a cocktail in of its own, though, right? You throw
Right.
some ice on it,
Well, yeah,
and it's kind of good to go with the lemon lime characteristics. It's kind of like a by the poolside kind of gin for somebody who maybe likes whiskey.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting.
I think we need
It's
to
a
give it to Kristen.
it's
though.
a very different take.
See
All
what
right,
she
well,
comes up
yeah,
with.
we'll see what she can come up with.
Have her on the show. We'll just be like, hey, Kristen, we have this great idea for you to. We'll let you play around with this gin if you come make us cocktails.
That's the trade-off. You can have the whole bottle. Just give us some cocktails.
Just
Let you
come
know-
make us a bunch of cocktails.
I do think
though.
that it screams for like a custom cocktail, though.
right.
Like, it's not going to be good for a gin and tonic because it's going to be an off color.
Right, that-
and
that's what I mean,
It's got
like-
too much flavor.
It's boutiquey.
Yeah, but something like, and she's really good at like nuanced drinks that also highlight the the characteristic of the base
Oh,
spirit.
Dude, have you
So I
been
think
to the Kin
Yeah,
yet?
Kin is killer.
It's amazing.
I love Kin. I
Yeah,
love Kin.
that bar is so good. Did you get they have one, it's like, it comes in like a little bowl
Oh,
with like a strawberry,
yeah,
like a dehydrated strawberry.
yeah.
And I got that, and I'm like, I know it's gonna be pink and it's gonna be foofy and it's in a weird
And you're
cup,
super excited
and
about
I'm
it.
super excited to order it. And
You're
I
like, what-
tasted it, and I'm like, holy shit, this is fucking amazing.
You're like,
And
what's the closest thing you guys have to a lemon drop?
Yeah, no, no. But I sent Kristen a message right away. I'm like, you made this drink, right? And she's like, yeah, I did. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, they have like an Asian one too that's really, really good. That's kind of like a milky color that you drink out of a bowl. And that's the same thing. I told her when I saw her at the bar, I was like, you made this one, right? And she was like, yeah. I was like, okay, yeah, that makes total sense.
Yep. So,
But yeah, we'll have to get her on and we'll try that because that's
It
one
is-
that I think screams for some conversation.
it is strangely like lemon lime. Like it
It
almost tastes like just a cocktail, like you said.
I told you, yeah.
On its own.
Yeah, I could sit there with some ice and just kind of sip it. And I don't say that about a lot of gin because gin to me can get repetitive as
Yeah.
you sip it.
Like I'm getting more to the juniper now on the aroma. Like now that I'm getting accustomed to all the wacky flavors.
But man, on the palate, it's straight up lemon lime. And then you get into kind of
Super
the
good
more
though.
minty, junipery notes in
Yeah.
the back. Yeah, overall,
Whoever's making all this stuff is doing
they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have there's some other products too. There's a duality product that I think uses a couple different malted ryes or something. I can't remember what the deal is with it. They have one called Tire Fire that I wanted to get a sample for you. It's got like
That sounds up my alley.
it's like smoked or peated grains or something like that. So they do some really fun stuff. I also tried I forgot the name of it. It's a bourbon that's made from 100% malted corn. Malted red corn.
Malted corn?
I've never had malted
How
corn
do you malt
before.
corn?
Same way you malt anything. You just let it sprout. You know that's what malting is, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, good. So yeah, they malted Bloody Butcher
But
corn.
I'm not entirely sure I knew what corn was. That it could be malted.
Good. No, they malted Bloody Butcher corn. And I think this was during COVID, and they made some batches that they put
So
in.
each kernel?
Oh my God, we're stuck on this, aren't we?
I'm just
you are not allowed to drink anymore. You're cut off. Yeah, so they just let it sprout, and then they halt the sprouting, and then they grind it, distill it, right? And so they made this special 100% malted corn, Bloody Butcher corn bourbon. They aged some in Char 3 and some in Char 4, both in small barrels. And the Char 3 was really, really damn good. So they do a lot of experimental stuff too. You cannot go wrong with any of the products that we just tried. These are all really, really well done products. You can taste the craft in a couple of them. You can taste the like thought process in the Heartwood. These are really, really good products.
I would say the only one that isn't obviously a craft whiskey is the Resurgens. In terms of flavor profile, like that's a flavor profile I would not be surprised to find at a mainstream distillery, like a major player.
It's hard to tell though because of the port.
Because of the port finish, right? Yeah. I'm just saying the other ones are a lot more like, again, I used the word enigmatic, like or going strange with the lemon lime gin kind of thing. But my money is on the Resurgens.
Yeah.
If you can swing it and get lucky enough to snag a bottle, thank you so much for sending us one.
Yeah. So I mean, you got 89
but-
on the Heartwood. I think it's worth it. 99 on the other two, which I think is worth it, and then 32 for the gin.
But I would be like, if I visited the distillery, I'd be happy to walk away with any of these. I
And the
really
Resurgence is
think
good.
it's worth trying them all, because they're all very different. I feel like a lot of times when you have a distillery, there's a lot of overlap between products, and this doesn't feel like that. So.
And I think you can get all of these products on Sealbox. So
Seal box?
yeah, for online delivery. So if you're out of the area and you don't have any distribution in your area, they do carry it on Sealbox. So you can order it through Sealbox. You just have to go through the "Are you over 21?"
About 10,000 times. Yeah.
before you can buy it. But they do have all of these on there.
It does say it's sold out, though.
Some of them are sold out. Some of them are not. So,
dude, the rye port cask finish is not
yeah.
sold out. $100.
And that's a private barrel that was selected by BS and Bourbon. So that could be a little bit different even than what we're trying.
Although it does say not available for Jonathan Richardson.
He's the only one who can't buy it.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you for bringing these over today.
Yeah, do we have any more comments before we wrap up here?
No, I covered them.
Okay, good.
So thank you guys for tuning in. Those of you who joined us live, remember we do this show at a different time every week. So good luck.
We're really bad with consistency because of life, right?
Yeah. Oh man.
So,
but we mean well.
We do. We try. We try.
So I think we'll be good for next Wednesday, but we'll see.
I think so.
So anyway, remember, if you like the show, tell your friends, family, get them into whiskey, get them into listening to the show, at least get them to subscribe. They don't even have to watch the show. Just subscribe, give us a thumbs up, all that jazz. And thank you to our Patreon members who support us month after month. We love you guys. And that's all I got.
All right. Cheers.
All right. Remember, drink, share, enjoy. Cheers.